Welcome to Podomation, where we talk about all things automation and industrial cybersecurity. Podomation is brought to you by ISA, the International Society of Automation.
I'm Morgan Four. Welcome to the next episode of Podomation. One of the largest issues companies worldwide face today is the technology gap between generations. How are universities working with students to get them ready to take on issues they may face with new technologies their coworkers aren't as accustomed to working with? Let's look inside of an igloo. An igloo is basically a large virtual reality room that many universities and companies are using to train the workforce, to utilize new tools, or even just get better acquainted with some of their already existing skills. To talk to you about an igloo and how they're specifically using this product, we have three panelists today. We have Paul Cooper with Michigan State University, we have Paul Graham with the University of Sunderland, and we have James Sheridan with IglooVision. Guys, thank you for joining us today to talk to us about your igloos and what you guys are using them for.
Let's start the conversation off here in Perth, and let's talk about how the igloo, which is like an immersion room, basically like a really large VR headset. James, can you tell us what it's being utilized for here with uni students?
Sure. A lot of the installs we had here are sim health installs, so done at universities and to help them teach doctors and nurses. And what they've typically done in the past is they've had kind of health simulation facilities where they've had mock medical rooms, and so whole surgeries set up. And then what they've normally had is a team of actors. And so every time they have a batch of nurses or someone come through, there's a lot of effort required to teach them. You've got to have all the actors get in their costumes and they've got to go through that process. So it's a lot of effort required to repeat those things, and a lot of cost as well. And so being able to record it in 360 and play those things back is very, very powerful. One of the other things that they can do is they can do things that they haven't been able to do in the past, which is take students out on the road. So here we are just floating above Perth, but the type of things that get done, maybe they'll invite in a medic, and he might jump down to here and he might talk about the time he just got called out over here. And oh, look, all right, perchance I've randomly jumped somewhere, but we can see someone's here doing some work. But maybe that's a case of someone's had an accident, there's been a stroke or something here. They can jump to a nightclub, or they can do the Medivac flight and what it's like to go on that flight. And they're things that they haven't been able to teach in the classroom before. And so it's been great that they can actually recreate these scenarios that they can't do in the real world.
Sure. But how do you feel that this really helps a 20-year-old learn how to talk to someone who maybe isn't used to dealing with technology like this? And how can that help them better relay information to speed up a process?
Yeah, I think you get to put them in scenarios that they're not normally in. So here we've jumped to a surgery, and I think they're very scared to go into these types of things without having the experience of what it's going to be like. So by using the technology, they can experience what surgery is going to be like, what dealing with a patient is going to be like. And so here we're looking at something like surgery, but what they can use is kind of game engine type tools. And here we've jumped to a kind of game engine based medical scenario. Here you can see we've got some fire people, we've got some medical people over here. And the way this works is normally when it's playing like this in real time, you can stop and you can say, all right, the person is going to be an ambulance driver, they're driving this vehicle. Or you can say that they're going to be the medic that is doing triage on the different types of people. And the way that they react in this scenario is different every time, because the instructor who sits outside and watches it through the camera, they can play different actions on these different people depending on how the person in the scenario reacts. And so instead of it being the same linear story over and over, it's a very dynamic scenario. And if they go through it 2, 3, 4 times, every time they go through it, it's a different experience. And they can get challenged by the people around. So if they're doing really well in the first view, the instructor might take over someone, he might puppeteer someone, he might start getting angry, he might start throwing things and start really challenging their behavior so that they get to deal with things like conflict in the workplace, which is not something that they get to experience until they actually get out into the job force.
Great, thank you, James. Now let's go to our friends at Sunderland University to hear about what they're doing. Paul Graham, please tell us why Sunderland University decided to get an igloo and what they have started using it for.
So we got an igloo at the University of Sunderland just over 2 years ago. We received some funding, some European funding that we used to purchase it, and we've used it for a number of things the last few years. The idea came from an idea I'd seen at Michigan State University, how they use it for business startups, and I thought that would be great for working with our students on setting up their own business. But since then, we've used it for well-being. So we've taken people to Malibu and sat on the beach and did some, breathing techniques. We have used it for displaying of student work. So photography students have used it for their projects. We've used it for final year students presenting their work within the space. We've also used it for group projects. So in our second year, our students work together across different degree courses, and they work with clients externally. And we have worked with 2 different clients on providing some creating a system that is used for the Igloo, which can be used for these companies. Mainly kind of training systems in a different way. It's just a different medium to use, rather than a virtual reality headset or some plain kind of boring training. We're using it for, using our Igloo, so it's a bit more immersive. I have also used it for my PhD research, and one of the things I've already done is I created an escape room where students had to solve some problems to escape, and over 100 students have used that so far.
Tell me more. I need to know about the cybersecurity escape room for sure.
So in terms of the escape room, we had an external company were coming in. They basically brought a big cabin in with some escape room. It was escape room around about cybersecurity, and they had about an hour's worth of problems to solve. And I thought, actually, this container cost nearly a million English pounds. I wonder if I could do something similar to that in the Igloo. So my research is looking at the Igloo is like there's a lot of technology in there. Is it a bit overwhelming? The good thing about the Igloo is you can communicate without, if you've got a headset on, it's a bit different. So without having that headset in the way, how would it work? And I thought, actually, there's a lot going on, but then also I want people to communicate what would be a good way of trying this out. So I developed with one of my colleagues an escape room where basically the students had to solve problems within the Igloo. So for example, we give them the scenario before they go in, which is a space scenario. We tell them they have 15 minutes to escape before they run out of oxygen. It is all not real, so they don't actually run out of oxygen. So they're told that. And they go into the room and they solve problems. And the first problem they've got to do is work out how to get the lights on. And then they've got to solve puzzles in order to get the symbols in order to escape. So that aids teamwork, it aids them to communicate, it gets them to think about cybersecurity, it gets them to work under pressure, and really to think out the box. And this was really good because in the university, we are a university here at Sunderland where we are looking at giving students skills that they will need in employment. And I think what we say now is you could go into a job and you don't have skills that you might think that you need in that job, and that sometimes you get asked to do a task you've never done before. So we're getting people to think outside the box, and we thought the escape room and the Igloo would be a great thing for them to use.
Yes, we think so too. Really, remote learning was a necessity during COVID. Many students struggle with it. So, the immersion activities that you have going on are very interesting, especially due to the lack of interaction with others some of these students have seen here recently. How can Igloo help address some of those challenges?
So when the students at our university went into lockdown, all of our classes went online, and we found that since then, students have looked at learning in a different way. They don't want to learn kind of come into class face to face. They want to use different medium. So they're quite happy now doing online, working through Teams, coming in and doing face to face. And what we found is actually their demands is now different. And also, they're also now learning new skills. Because if you think about it, a few years ago, people didn't really use Teams. Now it's just the norm. So we've used the Igloo to get the students to think outside the box and to work together. And we've also found that, it's one of a new way of learning. Here at the university, within our school, the School of Technology, we've invested £3 million in different equipment, which is state of the art, and the Igloo just being one of those things. And basically, we're using all these new things for the students to kind of come together and learn, using new technology. So it is really changed since COVID as to what they expect from us and how they learn.
Absolutely. Well, I've got just two more questions for you here. What is the importance of engaging with a younger generation about new technology and its capabilities? And how do you guys feel you're enabling the next generation of the workforce to succeed with that?
I think, just like I said in my last answer, we've invested millions of pounds in new technology. We have cells of computers with the latest computers. We have a game zone, so we have a games room. We have virtual reality rooms. We've got data visualization space. We've got a lot of spaces that we have invested in alongside robotics and advanced manufacturing. And we feel that by investing in these bit of kit, the students are learning new skills. So when they come out of the university, not only do they have a degree, they might also do some vendor qualifications, they might do some additional qualifications. But if they haven't done that, they're also coming away with new skills. So they're learning how to use the latest technology. And this might not be in the curriculum, but what we're doing is we're preparing them for employment and preparing them to be able to, if they get given something that they've never covered before, they know how to work a solution from what they've been given. So what we're doing is we're putting a lot of tech in our a lot of tech equipment into kind of our courses, which is good for them to learn, but also it's giving them valuable skills, like communication skills and problem solving skills. So when they leave university and they go into work, they can apply that into their jobs that they find when they graduate.
Okay, thanks, Paul. Let's hear from Michigan State University in the US. Can you guys please tell us where you started using an Igloo and what you started using it for? What's the impact been on students?
We started our digital scholarship lab from scratch. So we were looking at different venues to try to come up with some means of supporting digital visualization on campus. So we took the opportunity to tour several institutions, Chapel Hill, North Carolina, as well as North Carolina State University, which had been using open source methods to try to create digital visualization rooms. Well, what we found is that they were sometimes a little underwhelming, and in some cases, overblown, whereby the rooms required several staff members and a long startup time in order to even use the space. We decided that was a big barrier to use by faculty, staff, and students, and just would not work. On top of that, we also found that the physical cost to try to build that space by our facilities and planning services on campus was going to be rather daunting, which could have blown our budget right off from the bat. Well, I was given the initiative to find something a little bit better, and after seeing a Hyundai ad after one of the Super Bowl games, that's where I was introduced to the IglooVision technology. And from there, I was given the initiative to go ahead and try to find out more about it. I did, and found out that it was affordable and actually something that we could implement here at the libraries. Well, in that case, we managed to become the first institution in the United States to set up one in an academic environment. And I can tell you, the impact has not been lost on our students and our staff. In our first 5 years of using the system, we've hosted fashion events, little fashion shows, where we've had models and dummies set up across the area with students modeling from the textile department, as well as hosting virtual runways that they recorded of their pieces being shown in Detroit. We've also had a bevy of study abroad courses come in and use our space to basically allow the students to get the opportunity to visit and see things, but without having to even go there yet. This made it a more smoothing process for them to transition to those locations when they got there. And their instructors have talked to me and told me that it did help the environment and the learning experience for the students. Above all, it also has given us the chance to work with a variety of areas in the sciences, in the arts, and pretty much a broad range of areas. And we're just still finding so many different ways to help students with this.
And what is the importance of engaging with the younger generation about new technologies and capabilities? How do you guys feel you are enabling the next generation in the workforce to succeed by operating igloos and allowing interaction between generations within the igloo?
Yeah, it's been an interesting one. When we started doing a lot of stuff in scenarios like this where you can navigate, you'd give people a game controller, and older people would really struggle to fly around and interact with things. Whereas young people who are used to playing games, it was like second nature to them. One of the things that we had to really get around during those early kind of training things was someone's technical competence and where they're at, and realize that during the training, you needed to have a little bit of onboarding for some of those people that I guess weren't used to technology. But for the younger people, it was like second nature. It didn't distract them. They were able to focus on the scenario at hand, not how to interact with it. And so one of the things that we've had to figure out is ways for people to naturally interact with the spaces to reduce that kind of cognitive load so that they can focus on the training scenario at hand.
Mm-hmm. Well, do you feel that enabling an older generation person and a younger generation person to do these things together help them learn from each other more so than just basically isolating differences?
Yeah, group-based learning is a big thing. I guess so many people have made content for VR headsets and things like that and realized that it's not a great delivery mechanism. People put it on and feel like that everyone's watching them, and whilst it's very, very immersive, you don't know what your teacher or other people are pointing at. In a space like this, having being a shared conversation, we can point at something, we can discuss what's going on over there, we can all take notes. And so the conversations that we've seen happen in a VR headset to a kind of shared immersive space are very, very different and tend to be a little bit more in depth and focused on kind of objects within the space and discussing what's happening in the space as opposed to, I guess, how immersive it is.
Thank you very much. Now let's go to Michigan State University in the U.S. Paul Cooper, can you please tell us why you started using an igloo, how your students are taking it, and what impact you guys are seeing from it?
Okay, that is a very interesting question. In that regard, how can we interact more so with other universities and with other people remotely? I've been working with several instructors who have been trying to coordinate programs with students in Thailand and overseas so that we can try to host events that using a combination of software, ThingLink being the one that I've been trying to encourage, and I have an active license for that as well as being the administrator for that on campus. We are setting up environments where students in Malaysia and overseas are able to create content and then at the same time, and here's the difficult part, try to coordinate with our students here in the US so we can work up a time frame where they can be here, they can be there, and at the same time, we can bring them up on screen in the igloo using the new feature of the ICE system, which allows you to have layers, which works so much better. And in essence, talk to them, collaborate with them, and also work with the material that we have on screen. This is one way we've been trying to integrate international as well as local programs too. One that's very similar to this is that I've worked with Lauren Jeskovich, who is in a part of our Sea Grant Extension Program up near Black Lake, Michigan, where we have the sturgeon fishery hatchery growth program. And there, what they do is, quite frankly, they help to raise and nurture and grow sturgeon, as well as track the growth of them along the Black River ecosystem. Now, in that regard, what we've managed to do is we help provide them with a computer system. They, on the other hand, went out and bought an Insta360 Pro 2 camera, and using that combination, they were able to create content with ThingLink, which I provided to them, so that they were able to create a website so that they can allow users to visit, look at it in the 360 in our cylinder, and as such, navigate to different locations, watch different methods of how they track the fish, how they interact with the divers, and also how each process is conducted in the growth of sturgeon at the research facility. it's a very interesting program. And the nice thing about it too is because we were able to create it in ThingLink, it gives them the option of also using something as simple as a phone, like so, and a Google Cardboard or a VR headset. And they can also look at it there too if they don't have access to coming to our facility here. So we tried to be as accessible as possible with the content that we create here. So in our regard, that's how we try to be as accessible, as environmentally responsible, by giving people the chance to not have to always travel here, but to conduct remote work, but still get quality of service. Right now, I'm in the process of trying to upgrade most of our VR equipment from what we currently have to newer systems, such as the HTC Vive Elite systems, so that I can better integrate those with the content and work that we do in our 360 room with our IglooVision. My greatest challenge, as I said before, is trying to stay current and most likely stay ahead of what is out there. And I do give Igloo credit in that they have been advancing their technology as we've been going along. As a result, they have now made it so much easier for us in order to run the ICE system as opposed to the earlier iterations of their software, where everything ran separately. And sadly, every now and then would have conflicts one with another or with the hardware and would occasionally crash. So many different things working at the same time and relying on so many resources. The new system works so much better than we had in the past, and I love the advancements that they've made. At this point, I'm actually now able to train students and have them run and operate our cylinder without me having to have direct intervention. Now, the good thing about that is that it lets our students become more capable and understanding of the immersive technologies. One key point being that we now are able to eliminate and reduce the use of paper in a lot of cases where people are working on capstone projects, dissertation defenses, and can actually use a combination of Google Slides, Canva, or even ThingLink to present their materials on screen in a full 360 environment, walk people around the materials, and actually have them interact and feel immersed in what they're trying to present. Our goal is to try to continue to help students use this technology and grow with it, find different methods to integrate it with existing technologies, such as VR, AR, mixed reality, and in fact, another example to that would be those students in my interior design courses who I support and how they're using Revit, SketchUp, and Inkscape to create content, which I'm able to then present as walkthroughs in that space. Our landscape architecture department is another one that also uses it too. And our goal with them is to help them use Lumion to also create content and representations of different sites and present it in a live fashion as opposed to just static posters on the wall. That is where I think we can basically attract the greatest use for our students and give them the greatest benefit by showing them that the material isn't flat, two-dimensional, and static, but that it's alive, interactive, and the limitations to what they can do with it is just up to them. Our goal is to try to stay with them step by step and help them get there. My goal is to try to help them do that too.
Wow, what a great discussion. Thank you guys so much for taking the time today to speak with us about how different universities and companies around the world are using the same VR technology in igloos for very different things. We've seen it as an application for agriculture, fashion shows, the medical industry, and even cybersecurity escape rooms. If you guys are interested in Paul Graham's cybersecurity escape room, I encourage you to join us in London, June 18 and 19 for ISA's OT Cyber Summit, where the cybersecurity escape room will be in full force, ready for you to check it out. We look forward to seeing you there. Thanks again.
This has been Podomation, brought to you by the International Society of Automation. Thanks for listening. And remember to subscribe and review wherever you listen to podcasts. It really helps people to find our content. Podomation is produced by me, Liz Neiman, and Morgan Fora at ISA. Our music is by Mixer Drummer and has been licensed from Pond 5.